Hi, I'm Russell. I'm going to be your tour guide as we take a closer look at some of the world's most interesting and influential cultures of our time. Sit back and relax as you and I visit the sites that have brought about Western culture. We start our journey today in Egypt. There are over 100 pyramids in Egypt. Most were built as tombs for the country's pharaohs and their consorts during the Old and Middle Kingdom periods. The best known Egyptian pyramids are those found at Giza, on the outskirts of Cairo. Several of these Giza pyramids are counted among the largest structures ever built. The Pyramid of Khufu at Giza is the largest Egyptian pyramid. While standing under these massive structures, one begins to wonder how they could be built in just 40 years. One theory is that the stones would have to have been laid every 15 seconds. Each stone weighs nearly 1.5 tons, which means this would have been a very daunting task. The earliest known Egyptian pyramid is the Pyramid of Djoser, which was built during the Third Dynasty. This pyramid and its surrounding complex were designed by the architect Imhotep and are generally considered to be the world's oldest monumental structures constructed of dressed masonry. We now start our journey up the Nile to the Northern Kingdom, where we find ourselves in Luxor, anciently known as Thebes. One of the world's largest religious sites can be seen here, the Temple of Karnak. This was ancient Egypt's Ephesus, meaning the most selected of places, the main place of worship of the Theban tribe with Amun as its head. The Temple of Karnak has 134 massive columns arranged in 16 rows in the hypostyle hall. 122 of these columns are 10 meters tall. The other 12 are 21 meters tall with a diameter of over 3 meters. Construction work began in the 16th century BC. Approximately 30 pharaohs contributed to the buildings, enabling it to reach a size, complexity, and diversity not seen anywhere else. This is the innermost room of the temple, where only high priests would enter. When the sun rose, they were to enter in and offer sacrifice to appease the sun god Ra. The high priest was to make sure Ra was taken care of and comfortable. As we take a walk around Karnak, we see many walls that are covered with drawings. These drawings are called hieroglyphs. This particular wall depicts a man making the journey from this life into the next. Apparently, the pharaoh wanted to erase this man from history, and in so doing, he chipped the stone away to erase him from the history books. Just down the road from Karnak, we find the huge 24-meter tall pylons welcoming us to the Luxor Temple. These pylons were built by Ramses II. When the Romans came through hundreds of years later, they painted over top of the Egyptian artwork. Next, we cross the Nile and go into the Valley of the Kings, where we find tombs of many pharaohs, one of them being the more famous King Tutankhamun, or King Tut. As we travel back up to the Southern Kingdom, we find this large statue of Ramses II here in Memphis. Now, having seen Egypt, we can see how Egyptian art and culture would continue to find its way into the leading societies of the future, such as the Greeks and the Romans. A giant hand of the half-mortal, half-god Hercules can be found in Amman, Jordan. While as we travel to Europe, we see this Herculean statue stands in the counterposal pose at the Vatican in Rome. The Vatican holds many Greek artworks, including Laocoon, the Trojan priest of Poseidon, who attempted to warn his people of war but was stopped by snakes. Standing above a staircase in the Louvre is Nike of Samothrace, a 3rd century BC marble sculpture of the Greek goddess Nike. We also take a look at the many styles of pottery available at the Louvre. Back in Rome, one of the largest amphitheaters of the world still stands. The Colosseum could hold nearly 60,000 people comfortably. Here many gladiatorial games took place, reenacted Roman navy battles, and other forms of entertainment to entertain the Roman people. The Colosseum was built for the people and stood to show the whole world of Rome's supremacy. The Arch of Constantine is a triumphal arch in Rome, situated between the Colosseum and Palatine Hill. It was erected to commemorate Constantine's victories at the Battle of Milvian Bridge on October 28th, 312. As we walk away from the Colosseum, we find ourselves heading toward the Column of Trajan and on to the Pantheon. As the best preserved example of ancient Roman monumental building, the Pantheon has been enormously influential in Western architecture. The current building dates back to 125 AD. Hadrian, who was influenced by all things Greek, originally built it as a temple to all the gods. Traveling across the Mediterranean Sea to the city of Jerusalem, we'll find thousands of years of religious history. Jerusalem is important to the three major monotheistic religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Here's where Abraham, Christ, and Mohammed walked. The Temple Mount to the Jews is where Solomon's temple once stood. To the Muslims, it's where the third most holiest site in Islam stands, the Dome of the Rock, where Muhammad ascended into heaven. We find that Christianity had spread rapidly into Europe and find many places of worship, such as Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a Gothic cathedral located in Paris, France. It is widely considered one of the finest examples of French Gothic architecture. The name Notre Dame means Our Lady in French, and was one of the first Gothic cathedrals. It was among the first buildings in the world to use the flying buttresses. As Christianity grew in Europe, more people were going on pilgrimages in search for salvation and holy relics, such as this shroud that supposedly covered Jesus Christ in the tomb. Well, as we conclude our journey here in Europe, I hope you have learned a little more about Western culture and how art, religion, and architecture has shaped our world.